Look at that. Beautiful. We love to see it, don't we? Alright, it is Sunday, July 17th. It's been about a week now since the Huntington Triathlon. I wanted to get something out a lot earlier, and I actually recorded another video on, I think, Tuesday of last week, but it just felt very long-winded and scripted, so I'm just kind of starting over now without any real plans or notions of what I'm gonna say, and kind of just see where things go. I've had a good long time to think over the race, and I initially thought it was a very, very good performance for me, you know, like best I've ever done. And while I don't think that's really the case anymore, having had a little bit of time to step back and look at everything from a more overhead perspective, I do think it was a good performance. I think it was what we needed it to be, and it achieved the goals that we'd set out to achieve. I guess let's just jump right in and get started. All right, things are definitely picking up now. Sun's starting to come up. We got maybe 50 minutes till race starts. We're just getting everything in position. So it was a very early morning for all of us going out to the lake, out to Lake Claire, where the race was being held. Start time was supposed to be around 6:30 a.m., which I think is probably the earliest I've ever had. It's gonna be very cold, but that's how it goes. Man, it was like 90 last week.
It is a whopping 60 degrees exact.
Oh, lovely.
So have fun in that water.
Yeah, apparently the water's supposed to be pretty warm. It's like 78. Unfortunately, this was not one of my better swims, and really towards the bottom end of my swimming abilities, I would say. I got out with a time of around 17 and a half minutes, which is unrealistically fast for me. So I knew that something was up. I knew that it was probably a little bit short, but I didn't really realize exactly how much it was. Turns out it was only around 1,260 yards, which is about a quarter of an Olympic distance swim that's just missing. So unfortunately, what I thought initially was a relatively good time turned out to be about a pace of 1:22, which is a few seconds per 100 yards slower than I went at Grand Rapids, which, you know, obviously being a full-length race and being a half Ironman, it's very disappointing to see my time be that much slower over a shorter distance. It's only been about a month since Grand Rapids. I don't even think it's been that long. So on the upside, I don't think that this is a problem of my swimming ability being that lacking. You know, it's only been that long since I swam significantly better. On the other hand, though, on the downside, I think the issue was much more mental and psychological than physical. Getting to the race that morning, that early, I don't think I was really fully mentally prepared for the swim. I think my mind was elsewhere. I wasn't really dialed in as much as I should have been. And embarrassingly, I do think I kind of just phoned it in. Like I was working hard, but not as much as I would have liked to, or as much as I think I should have for an Olympic distance swim.
All right, you got this, babe.
The flip side, though, and this is where things start to get a lot better, is because the reason that I wasn't so focused on the swim is because I was focused on the bike.
Keep it up! Come on! Heads up!
About a week before Huntington, I talked to my coach about sort of what my goals were going to be for this race, how we were going to handle it overall, and we decided that we would do sort of an experiment that we've been thinking about doing for probably around a year now. Rather than putting together, you know, a full Olympic distance race and going for the best overall time we could, our goal this time was just to focus wholly on the bike and just see what kind of a time I could put down on the bike leg. And that was what I was focused on, and that turned out to go incredibly well. I've been flirting with about a 1 hour bike for probably a little over a year now, and this is the time I think we finally solidly cracked it. I didn't have the best start to the bike. It was a little bit of uphill going out. I didn't have the greatest transition because I decided to bring my GoPro with me, and it ended up falling off my helmet in transition. As time went by, things started looking better and better. I went from, okay, there's no way I'm getting under an hour.
It's slow even for half iron.
To about halfway through thinking, I could maybe make an hour.
Very close. I'm gonna really kill it on the way back.
To maybe the last third or the last quarter of the race thinking,
God, I think we're gonna make it. Here's gonna happen to the outcome. Fight for it! Let's go!
So I ended up with a time of 58:58, at least on my watch, which is, I believe, one of my fastest 40K bikes ever. It's definitely the fastest I've done in a race. The only time I've gone better than this, I think, is on Zwift. And the really encouraging part is that my power numbers are significantly better. My coach and I have been focusing very specifically on the bike for, I think, most of the work that we're doing. At least a lot more than my swim and my run, and we've seen the numbers increasing quite a bit, but I wasn't really sure by how much until I got done with the race here. And I don't necessarily think I've gotten like 20% stronger in just 1 year. I think part of that is just knowing how to handle a race correctly and knowing how much I can give in an Olympic distance without blowing out or burning myself out or anything like that. But that's an important component of a race too. You know, being able to execute well and not just have the fitness, but to have the strategy. And I think I'm definitely getting better at that too. So the bike was incredibly encouraging.
Where's the line?
That's up.
I think I got it. Off.
And then there was the run. And if I went into the swim without much of a plan, I went into the run with zero expectations.
All right, let's crush that run.
The goal was just give everything I can to send it as hard as possible on the bike. And then if I could come back with something decent on the run, great. And if I couldn't, whatever. This was more of an experiment than anything else. But unlike the swim, the run turned out to go very well. It was a 4-lap out and back course. So we went through the same area right by transition, the same hill at the end, 4 times. You got to know the course very well. So it was kind of nice knowing what to expect. And the other nice part was going through transition like 4 times, you were able to see as much of a crowd as there was. And this was the first time at a race I've really had kind of a support crew. I had a couple local friends, both from Indy and from Fort Wayne, who I knew way back in high school, who came to cheer. My girlfriend was there.
All right, keep it going, babe. That was very fashionable. Woohoo!
My dad actually did the sprint distance.
He thought he got passed by this guy. No, he's on his first lap. Good job, buddy. Go get him.
So I had a lot of people who were, you know, cheering for me and giving encouragement and helping me get my times and everything. I ended up going an average of 5:53 per mile, which is, I think, one of my best 10Ks ever. I think it might be like my top 5. Definitely one of my fastest in a race, and almost as fast as I've gone just from a flat start as well. So knowing that I can do that off of an incredibly taxing bike is very encouraging to me. And knowing that my background is mostly in swimming, having this kind of ability as a bike runner is definitely making me very hopeful for the upcoming years.
You did it. A thumb up, but I'm holding a phone.
All in all, I finished with a time of about 1:56 mid, which when you add in the extra time that I would have gone on the swim if it were full length, turns out to about a 2:01, which has happened to me a few times in the past couple of years, and it's always really disappointing to know that I'm just like, I'm right there, and maybe I would be going sub 2, maybe I wouldn't, but I don't really know for sure without a full length course. But I think this time I might have just gotten it, even if I wouldn't have, knowing that I was that close with a piss poor swim and a slow transition and a race environment with a harder bike than I've really experienced before. I think is very encouraging. As it stands right now, we've got a little less than 3 weeks until age group nationals, And after that, maybe 3-ish months until Age Group Worlds, and we're going to see how those shake out, and I think that's going to determine a lot of how next year goes as well, and whether I plan to stick mostly with Olympic distance or shift more towards the half Ironman and the Ironman distances. I had initially planned for next year to be sort of my last big Olympic distance year, but I think this race has given me pause, kind of made me think about that a little bit more and kind of reconsider. I think I've kind of been of the mentality that there's only so far I can go in Olympic distance before eventually needing to shift to the longer distances as I age, and I think there might be more in the tank, so I'm very excited to see what the rest of the year brings. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you for coming along on this ride with me. This is something that I've been kind of wanting to do a little bit more of for the past couple of years and really haven't gotten around to until now, so I know it's kind of a rocky start, but I appreciate every view I get, every comment or engagement that I get. It's been hard to really create that sense of community over the past couple of years that I've been training alone, both away from a tri club in person and just being in the middle of a pandemic. So it really does make it feel like there's a little more of a community around here to support me and for me to support as well. So thank you to everyone, and we'll see you at the next race.